I receive apologies for absence. Thank you. For councillors to declare any personal or prejudicial interest on the agenda, there are none. We approve the minutes then. For the approval of the minutes there's two lots to be approved. On the 4th of March, they have been circulated. If councillors are content with the contents, may I have a proposer and a seconder, please? Seconded by Paul. Is that agreed, members? There are, as a second meeting to be approved, and this was the extraordinary meeting held on the 14th of March, and for the benefit of the public present, and that was for awarding of the grounds maintenance contract. Those members, are they a true record?
Yeah.
Yes. Can I have a proposer and seconder for that, please? Yeah. Jean and Jack. Right, thank you. We now move on to public participation. Questions, please. There is a limit on this of 3 minutes per question and answer, and the total being 15 minutes in all. Do I have a show of hands or anyone has a question? Yes, Ralph.
Right. I was looking about the, I mean, how does your council dissolve yourself for the elections? And, you know, then what happens? Because on the website it just urges people to, you know, come forward to be voted on as
well, the
members.
councillors, the present councillors, the main councillors, I believe, to slightly after the actual meeting. I think Keith.
Well, that's
4 days after the meeting, and then
4 days after which this meeting.
The election.
4 days after the election.
And then the chairman and vice chairman remain councillors until the next meeting of the annual parish council.
Which is in May.
13th of May.
Right. Okay. Well, that's useful information to know. I mean, what's the timetable? You know, I noted it's supposed to say that the AVDC is organising the election, but then you go to AVDC, you know, press that button and nothing comes up. Well, not relating to parish council elections.
Oh, well, I haven't explored that myself. But can anyone?
The district council are responsible for the election, so if somebody wants nomination papers, they need to contact the returning officer at the district council, or if your clerk has got some packs, to get it from your clerk.
Right.
I do, but is that what you're asking about?
Well, it's a general question because there's nothing been published, as far as I can see, about, you know, packs or whatever you're talking about to, you know, to apply to be a parish council. No.
Well,
What we have said is contact me. I have packs here.
Ah.
I was going to come on to this.
Well,
if anyone's interested, I have packs and I have some
Well,
information.
there was nothing in the agenda and about it, and you know, there's nothing on the website at the moment, as far as I can see, unless I'm not looking in the right part of the parish council website.
No, there wouldn't normally be on our website because we don't handle the administration of it.
Right.
That's the district council.
Yeah, the parish council website would normally point you in direction to the district council. So.
Well, it did, but all it gave you was Buckingham and Aylesbury.
Right.
Nothing else.
Well,
So if you're part of AVDC, perhaps you ought to go back and.
I'm not. But,
oh, right. Sorry, I don't.
But AVDC would know that the parish are also part of the election process. So
because I mean, there might well be people here that will want to put themselves forward to be elected.
I was going to come on to this in my report. I can certainly.
Fine.
What we've had is we've had We've had two events to attract prospective councillors here. We've also got a fair bit of information on the website about how to stand for anyone who wishes to stand. And I've also got the packs here, if anyone is interested.
I couldn't find that on the website.
We've got posters all around the village. They're on the village notice boards as well. We've done all we could, we feel.
Fine. I'm obviously either blind or not looking in the right direction or what.
Email me. Anyone? Email me.
I'm sure that you're all aware by now about the building that's going on in Stablebridge Road and the pollution that we've had yesterday. Any councillor that's not aware, you should be aware of what's going on. Carol Paternoster has been involved. She's getting in touch with environments and so forth. But this could be a massive, massive problem for this village if you're not on it now. Clearly it's gone into the stream. Clearly it's gone into the area down at the bottom, what we call the beach area and so forth. It's now you've got clay which is going down drains. As you know, clay sinks to the bottom, it doesn't wash away. So you're now talking what could happen as an overall is the clay settling and the water backing up into people's homes. So it has to be stopped now and investigated now before we end up with another £100,000 bill.
Yes, it has been discussed before, the problems we're having there, but I know we're aware that it's increased the difficulties. Peter's got his hand up.
Yeah, what they're doing is they're pumping it from the corner by my house into the drain in the road while they sink their drains. That's where it's coming from.
Yes, I mean with that.
This is a real major
needs
one.
to be stopped as soon as we'll do this.
I spoke to ECL Civils yesterday. They're going to put in another, what do we call it, a silt box or a silt
That's
filter.
correct. Yeah.
I didn't feel that was going to quite
It's not
be
going to solve your
enough.
problem now.
So we're getting on to the Environment Agency now.
The one you need is DEFRA. Is it DEFRA or DEFRA?
DEFRA.
Yeah, they're the ones that they'll stop them building and turn it off immediately.
Yeah, Taylor Wimpey, I've been in touch with Taylor Wimpey and they deny that there is a water problem there.
Oh, we have some photographic evidence of the cloudiness
Mm.
and
We
stuff,
do.
so we can show them that.
Yeah, I know, as I say, they've been pumping it out of a big hole. I've told them they should have come to a local person to find out about the water problem there, because I've been there 70 years, so I know that there's a major water course under the ground in that corner.
Oh yes. Yeah.
But they just ignore you, and at the when they had the planning inquiry, they said that they did the test drillings for water in August, which was the driest part of the year, and they said the water level was 3 metres down. Well, now they've exposed
It's
it,
spring there, isn't it?
it's level with the top, and it's a dry winter.
DEFRA Europe is.
Yeah.
Okay.
They can stop it immediately because the next problem you're going to have now is the environment because of the ducks, the birds were coming into the nesting season, so and it's just can't happen with the clays.
We'll
And
take
that now opens a whole big ball game.
Yes, we'll address it. Thank you. Anyone else? John, you surely must want something. No, all right. Okay.
Are we allowed to ask questions later on when you come on to about the hub, what's been going on in the last couple of days?
I'll be updating you about that.
Oh,
now.
okay, that's what I'm saying. I
Yeah, you don't
didn't want to not
twice.
mention it, yeah.
Keep it to the end, if something you haven't covered, then.
Are we allowed to join in on that bit though?
Well,
Obviously, the next bit you discussed it, we're technically not allowed to speak, are we?
You must,
Strictly, but we'll.
Mr. Chairman, you must advise the members of the public that they must ask the questions now for any future agenda items. Unless the council decides on a particular item, you close standing orders and you open it up to the public again. But I would advise you not to do that because that is not normal practice.
I appreciate that comment, sir, but you've moved the public participation piece to the start of the meeting to avoid us asking questions.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
The bit of
Not at all.
it's best practice to have the public participation at the beginning, because then the councillors can hear all your concerns about possible agenda items that are coming later. Because if they let you speak at the end, they will have discussed and made their decisions without hearing anything from you. So
Well, there's going
it's
to be...
good practice to have.
Ask it now then.
Ask a question
Can
now.
Can I just say something though?
Ridiculous.
I don't like
Yes,
best
just a minute.
practice. I don't like best practice, but legally you're allowed to put it back to the end. And it's very hard to ask questions on agenda items we don't know what you're going to say. We might know what's on the agenda, we've got no idea what the content of those agenda items will be. And it was far easier to put it at the end. And legally you are able to move it to the end if you so choose. You can do as you wish. Best practice is whatever you may say, but you can legally put it to the end if you want to, as you used to do. Which for us as people sitting here in the village, it's far easier and better for us though to answer at the end, not now, because you don't really know what to ask. I'm much quieter now, as you may have noticed, since you moved it to the beginning. I don't say anything, well, I don't know what I'm going to say, so I know what you're going to speak about.
Well, it has to be explained if the council wishes to abandon the, not abandon, put standing orders back and allow discussion on a particular item.
Okay, well it seems we're going to have to go over the item twice. Jean, can you explain what's been going on?
No, well, we've got to move on formally, really.
All right, so now I can't ask my question.
Just ask a question,
Yeah.
Rose.
Yeah.
Ask your question.
Put your question now.
What question would you like to ask?
What's been going on the last couple of days?
Last couple of days, we've had the final removal of all items that are belonging to third parties from the Hub Pavilion. It's been a long sort of 8 weeks of legal toing and froing, and it's resulted in having the bailiffs come in and to release all the goods that have been leased to third parties and items that belong to the Hub, Aston Clinton. So as of today, that building is empty and everything in there belongs to the Parish Council now, and it is cleared and will be cleaned, ready for the next phase, which is going to be hopefully new tenants coming in. We've had expressions of interests around the village. We've had, I think, at least 3 coming to Jill so far. The closing date is on the 17th of April, and then the Facilities Committee will look at all the options that have come forward and hopefully bring something for the community once we've investigated fully who's come forward.
I have indeed filled in one of those forms myself.
Lovely.
So and I try to support everything that's going on and the way that it's going there.
Yeah.
I'm working now on hearsay,
Yes.
simply because I've seen somebody that's seen somebody and then it's
Yeah.
been told to me. Can you confirm one way or another, is Gary Brennan taking Aston Clinton Parish Council to court?
Not that we're
No.
aware of.
That's that, done, thank you.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Did anybody in the village get one of these? Or
Uh,
is it just people I know?
Was it
I-
Gyro?
What is it?
David Liddington.
What?
David Liddington,
Yeah.
yeah.
Everybody else found one.
Yeah,
What was that
Everybody
reference?
else found it's got one.
David.
Oh, yeah, we had that.
It seems to be even people who didn't object have got one.
Yes, I think it was
It's the whole, yeah.
Thank you. Well, it's an letter from David Liddington about how this is done. You've had to probably identify that. Okay, thank you. We'll move on then to matters arising, which is first of all the lamppost on the Upper Muir Way. I'm probably aware that it was knocked down. We are not aware of who actually is responsible for what vehicle in fact, but it's going to cost £602 plus VAT and additional cost for connecting the supply, so almost £900 for a replacement of a street lamp. Members, have any views on that?
We're not covered by insurance.
No.
And is there any, is that, we have any choice of who does the work?
Not
No.
the 602, because that has to be UK Power.
Yeah, right, so it's a sort of,
And the other figure is only an estimate, because I haven't had a quote yet.
right,
But I feel that's what it's going to be.
okay.
I took a drive up there in the dark, and I do think it should be lit.
Yeah,
That's just my opinion.
yeah, I think it should be reconnected, yeah.
It is on that junction.
It's very dangerous.
It is on a junction.
Yeah. If you come down out of the woods and you've got to turn right or left, and people really vary on that.
Well, members, we've replaced these street lamps before and have been quoted more than that sum to replace them.
Okay,
But anyhow, if I can get and have a proposal and a seconder for that expenditure, Marion, Teresa, are members agreed on that? Can I have a show of hands? Okay, thank you.
I'll abstain.
The next item is it was on the last agenda and it's been put back now for a donation to the PACVE, I don't know how it's pronounced. That is to help support this organisation, which is doing its best, in fact, to represent the village with regards to building development which is proposed. We have in the past made a donation to the development between here and Aylesbury, the Hampden Fields development, because the council felt at the time that the effect that the traffic would have on the village itself. So members may have your views.
Was it £500?
Right, well, we did for Hampden Fields, yes, £500.
yeah, I proposed that, well, not proposed that, but that was the conclusion, that's what I would vote for.
Well, I definitely think, you know, we've got to. It's our own village. I
Yes,
mean,
and it's the Greenfield side of the village, not, you know,
no.
they're not concerned with small bits and pieces we look after, like extensions and stuff. This is to preserve the village itself, rather than unwanted expansion of Greenfield site. So, you know, my vote would be for the £500 that we put towards Hampden Fields, which is matching that.
Yeah,
Teresa?
if that's all we can afford, I mean,
Well, that was the figure. I mean, Jeff?
Comment.
I'm already involved with the precept, so.
People more knowledgeable than me will, I hope, agree that this can be paid under section 137. It is for the good of the village, was not strictly speaking parish council business. And in the later agenda item, I've put £2,000 aside under section 137, so yes, we could pay for it.
I think actually under 137 it's for the benefit of the village as a whole, or a substantial number of members of the village that can be spent. I might stand to be corrected on that, but I believe we can do that. In fact, we've done it in the past.
Okay.
Do we wish to raise that amount then, possibly, or do we want to stay with the 500? Any thoughts, teams?
Well, can I have a proposal then on?
I must admit, I think, you know, £1,000 would be more in the
Spirit
realms
the
of
thing.
things, if we can afford it. But I mean, Jeff knows that. If he's put his £2,000 in, he's obviously thinking of something.
Yeah, I was thinking of the scouts being paid to clear the litter. That was the other balance of the 2,000 quid.
All right.
And they're not doing it now.
Oh,
I don't believe it.
Oh,
No, I think
Eight
we'll use that
spokesman
now.
can I have a?
Well, on the light of that, the money in the balance, we need some for the scouts. So I propose 750 then.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seconder,
Yeah.
please. Jean,
Yeah.
Marion, whoever.
Yeah.
And can I have a
It's a
show?
very good cause.
Yes, can I have a show of hands then, please? Most in favour?
Abstain.
Abstain, yes, okay.
Living money, men.
Right. Chairman's,
I'll be in touch.
Thank you. 5 years' time.
let me find my notes. Chairman's monthly report. Last week I attended a liaison meeting with Arla. The main subject on the meeting was a revised plan for their proposed anaerobic digester to be built on their site. There had been objections at the previous meeting to the design, the height of the proposed development, and now they have actually put forward plans which reduce the height considerably of the building by 5 metres, resiting the storage tanks further into the development and also reducing their height. A new planning application will be going in, which I believe we have until June to object to it if there are objections. The main thing which, as you probably know, that the development is on the Buckland side of it, but the main effect on Aston Clinton, it will be, of course, there's no change in the number of vehicles that will be using that development if it goes ahead, which is between 60 and 63 lorries to and from the development each day, and also their staff to man it. That's really all I have to report.
Well, we'll have to wait to see the new plans, won't we?
Well, that's right, yes.
Can't really comment on that until we see.
No, but basically they have listened to the objections. And that's really all I have to, it's now to the clerks.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Could you clarify what capacity you were at the Arla liaison meeting, please?
Aston Clinton representatives. I did.
Of the Parish Council?
That's right. I did ask Tony, but unfortunately when I rang him, as he's the chair of the planning, he was, unfortunately,
Not there.
he was there, but in hospital. The clerk, then monthly report.
My main concern at the moment is the forthcoming election. With the majority of the current council standing down, there are 11 spaces to fill around this table. We've held 2 recruitment events in the past couple of weeks which were quite successful. However, we don't yet know who will put themselves forward and actually stand. If all who have expressed an interest do stand, I think we will be able to fill the 11 places. However, if that were the case, we wouldn't have an election. If we don't get 11 people, then there will be vacancies. Therefore, if anyone is interested in joining us, please do get in touch with me. I've got packs here this evening. We do have some fantastic plans for the village, but we can't do it with just 3 or 4 of us. Our next meeting after the election is on May the 13th. There'll be 2 meetings that evening. The first is the annual parish meeting, which is an informal opportunity for local groups to highlight their achievements this year. And we will be in touch with all the local groups to invite them along. The second is the annual meeting of the Parish Council, which most importantly must elect a new chairman. And that will also be the first time we meet the new council and take our first steps forward with the new council. Finally, for me, the big news is the operation of the pavilion has now gone out to tender. All of those who contacted me initially have been invited to tender, along with anyone else who wishes to put a proposal to the committee. The closing date for bids is April the 17th, and I know that the Facilities Committee will be talking on this further later on in the meeting.
Thank you. Any questions for our clerk? Correspondence received.
Yes, there's quite a bit of this, and I really would appreciate it if you could read and circulate this, members. We have had a response to the letter that Councillor Winterbottom and I drafted to go to the planning department. Did my scan come through? No. Well, the response, it was only yesterday.
I got some of it, yeah.
It was only yesterday, and I have been a little tied up this week.
You have,
So it's here.
Okay.
It's very council speak.
Yeah.
Well,
go back and get some facts.
Yeah.
There are
So-
none.
Well then,
There was not one single
we,
mention of numbers on there whatsoever, was there?
so,
I
I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
we're not gonna give up,
No.
I've put it first on
yeah.
here.
And Carol
So-
Paternoster, I think, will help us in it.
Yeah,
She'll-
she
yeah,
said she
she'll
would.
lead the way,
If the
yeah.
response wasn't satisfactory,
Yeah.
which I
No,
don't know
it's
what you
not.
think, but I think
I
it's
don't-
very.
Have you seen it, Colin?
Yeah, the bit, well, I hope the bit I read, basically, it takes to concern and we talk to the people and we make sure the shortfall is covered. Bloody, bloody, there were no numbers, nothing at all saying
It's a fudge.
Aston Clinton School has 20 pupils, nothing, not a mention.
Because it's the process that we want to.
It doesn't even mention
know,
Aston Clinton School or
Although-
Wendover School. There's
yeah.
no specifics anywhere in the letter
It's
whatsoever.
very scary.
And it's very similar to the reply I got from Chinani,
Yeah. I
which I
saw
wrote
that.
a letter to him. Well, the house is, you know, the 47 or 90 point, whatever it was, and I got exactly the same waffle back. And I said, look, it's no good saying we just want £3,000 per house for 106. I said that's of no use. I want some numbers, and I want you to provide me nothing.
It's also the process. When you, I mean, we've got applications coming in for really big numbers of
Yeah.
housing. It's all going to be family housing. It's not like London where you might have people in flats. These are family homes, and they're going to have the implications for all our social structures in the village are profound.
We need to go.
And
back.
there need to be stages that people go through to check what effect each of those developments has on the medical services and on the school services, on everything else. Otherwise, we become a dysfunctional village.
There's just nothing at all. No facts saying how many
I'll-
pupils at the school.
If I can call in tomorrow, and perhaps we could.
I'm not here, Tony, I'm
okay.
afraid, tomorrow.
Whenever.
I'll give it to you in the first instance this evening.
Okay,
Shall I?
and then Colin and I we'll try and get a
It's
response.
diplomat speak.
It is.
Then there is a notification from Bucks County Council about the temporary closure of the bypass, and I've put lots of copies of that around. Can you make sure everybody that you speak to over your garden fences knows, and so on? There was also something from AVDC to make sure everyone has got themselves on the electoral register. I get updates through weekly now, updating the electoral roll, but the deadline in terms of voting in the election is the 20th of April. To get yourself on the electoral roll. There is a letter in here from David Liddington's office, plus 4 letters from members of the public about the rise in the precept. Well, you can read what people have said, and I know that a lot of people have also phoned and been in touch, and Jeff has put a very detailed response on the website. And finally, there is a letter from David Liddington's office himself, which I'm guessing is the same as Mr Disbury held up, which was about the calling in of the Brook Street development. It was a long letter to say not much, really. But
Has it been called in?
it has been called in, yes, but no decision can be made because it's now Purdah.
It's not been called in.
It's not been called
Not
in.
by
It's
you.
been looked at to be called in.
Yeah.
They haven't.
Oh well,
but
it's not a no.
It's not a no. And I would really like to say again, it really was Hackney got that called in and not David Liddington.
So we're not going to get a yes
We
or
won't
no
get-
before
we
the
won't-
election, are we?
Not until after they've got, so
No.
they know who's indeed who is going to get, whether Eric Pickles is still there or somebody else.
Yeah.
It will be much.
They'll leave it.
That's not a bad thing. At least it's sitting there. No one can do anything on that piece
Well,
of
I
land.
think it's an achievement to get that to that stage because none of the others have been. So that's a tick.
Somewhere in Hadland has as well.
Yes.
There's one in Hadland too.
Sorry? Nothing from the public.
To Tony, please, thank you, and then on to everybody else. I'd be very grateful if you could please pass it around to each other. If not, back to me, and I'll do that. But not sitting at home, please. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you, Jill. More questions for Jill? We move on to finance and staff. As Jeff has just circulated us a handful of papers, I'm sure you can enlighten us, Jeff.
Yeah, apologies. I mean, it being the first of the month today, I didn't really circulate these before today, as they're supposed to reflect the end of month situation. You've got 2 pages that simply reflect where we are at the end of March. One that says current account, monthly reconciliation and summary of accounts at the end of the month. I want to bring you back to the one saying monthly reconciliation in just a minute. So there's just 2 pages there which reflect where we are 31st of March. I've moved that forward and done a complete summary of the 2014-15 financial year. And that's the other set of papers that sort of start with that one. There's 1 page which is just a complete summary, the very highest level. Then there's 2 pages which say summary of income and summary of expenditure, and then 3 which say detail. And it's just working down different levels of granularity, down to some really sort of pretty awfully low level stuff. The figures balance, which is a miracle. Just what I wanted to point out, if you were to look at the current account monthly reconciliation, you would see, for instance, that the total of the outgoings would appear to be 138,845.30, and yet my accounts are showing it as 127,845.30. Strictly speaking, the monthly reconciliation is showing everything going in and out of the bank account. And where we do virement from one account to another, so where we take money out and put it into petty cash, that doesn't show in the accounts as such, but it'll show in the bank balance. There was also a £10,000 cheque that bounced, and I didn't want it showing as 2 lots of 10,000 paid and 1 10,000 in, so I took that out. There was also some transfers from the tracker to the current account, which again get taken out of the bank side of things, are shown in the account. No, sorry, they're in the bank thing, they're taken out of the account. But the figures tally. I have 2 proposals on which I would welcome comment. Formally, I believe that the Finance and Staff Committee should look at these figures and mark them for approval, hopefully, by the new Parish Council. You haven't had enough time at this meeting to look at them and approve, so I believe that the formal case is for the Finance and Staff Committee to do that and lay it before the new council to say, we're happy. The second thing is, I see no reason at all not to publish this on the website.
Yep.
I mean, the accounts are open to the public for inspection at some point. My view is we have nothing to hide.
Absolutely.
Shove them out there.
Yeah.
And if members agree, I will put them on there tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
And you've already published the budget, so on the website.
Have
I thought it had been posted.
What, the budget subheads?
Well, yes, that's right, yeah.
Well, you went up on me there, Mr. Chairman.
Well, no,
I didn't but,
it's been said that it's on.
I might have done. You know, website pages go, website pages go.
Well,
I don't recollect.
Precept explanation.
Yeah, that's not,
Precept,
that's not the
that's
big,
not
that's
the
not the
same.
new budget subheads.
No, I haven't read it myself. I said the precept headings were on the webpage.
The 3rd page is finances to be agreed in the April meeting of ACPC. I have nothing really to add. I suppose one comment, the Thames Water line 214, rather better than the 1,200 and something that they originally suggested we pay them.
Yeah.
So that's a significant improvement.
Any questions for Geoffrey on that? Okay.
Thank you. Moving on, I have 2 motions to put to you, and I sincerely apologise on the first one. I did mean to circulate an email, but I clearly forgot. To agree that the clerk should move from SCP 21 to 23 with effect from 1st of May. You will remember that we agreed we should do Jill's appraisal now rather than at the 6-month mark because it's bang in the middle of the election process. So I did the interview with Jill a week or so ago using input from the staff subcommittee, which I'm grateful. The Finance and Staff Committee then met and unanimously agreed to the proposal to put to this meeting that Jill raised from SCP 21 to 23. The actual increase is not huge in pure monetary terms. It actually could be classed as fairly pathetic. bear with me, it goes up by roughly 57p an hour. Wow, I even say. But I think it's an acknowledgement, it should be seen as an acknowledgement by this council of the good work that she has done, and you know, we have a solid future there with Eula South Clark. And I can only commend you to hopefully agree that proposal, please.
I have a proposer. Yes, Tony?
Yep.
And Joe? Oh, yes. Show of hands, please. That's unanimous, I believe. Yes.
Thank you, members. The second one was to agree the budget subheads for the start of 2015-16 financial year. Have you all got a copy of that?
Yeah.
This is just an attempt to show how we move from the figures in the precept bid to what I'm suggesting as the budget subheads. This is kind of mechanical because, you know, in a month, 2 months' time, you can change all the subheads, but formally speaking, Jill, the clerk, needs agreed subheads to work to, and I am proposing that we use those marginally revised figures.
These were the ones that were published on the web.
The left-hand column are the ones that were published under the precept bid, but quite a bit of water has passed under the bridge since then. We've got a bit of clarity about the pavilion, which we didn't have at the time of the precept, and we're making just a few sort of adjustments, putting, for instance, more money into the playground area because of a visible lack of maintenance, which needs to be addressed. You'll see I put 2,000 aside under section 137, and we've put 12,000 aside for the feasibility study for the community centre.
And you did hold a meeting with the public on these proposals, the budget set, and the subheadings, and actually the precept.
The left-hand column, yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can I ask a question? If the Facilities Committee decided that they wanted to do some work following the realignment of the stream, is there a budget, I mean, it may not be a lot, but some bring in some expertise. Is there anywhere that could be got from?
Yes.
It's just a theoretical question.
Yes.
There is.
Next.
Thank you, that's all.
But that'll be down to the chairman, the new chairman of the finance stuff. Volunteer?
It's a theoretical question because we don't know whether we want that, but if we did,
I could imagine that we could find them.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Jeff? And the
Yes,
motion,
could I seek approval for that motion?
yes, the last motion then, the budget subheadings for 2015-2016 financial year. May I have a proposer, please, Joe, second, and Marion, and many more. Can I have a show of hands, please? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else on finance and staff members? We'll move on then to planning.
I think, as I've not really been very active, I think Colin's been more active. But we've been talking to each other. Yeah. It's better that Colin reports.
Yes, okay.
Okay, right. First thing, neighbourhood plan. Finally got the initial boundary designation and initial letter into the council, along with a group of people that are formed to push the thing on. We've filed that, and that is now in there for 4 weeks, which I think is sort of towards the end of this month, and that's the start of the neighbourhood plan. Committee we formed of 6 people. We're meeting on the 9th of April, and I do emphasise that the neighbourhood plan is not designed to stop all development within the village. It has to propose and mould and carve what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. It is slightly more difficult because, of course, if we were starting, say, 6 months or a year ago, the amount of numbers of houses that we would be talking about are what we've already got. So that does make it very awkward, but we cannot afford to be totally NIMBY, to use that tail phrase, about it and say we don't want any more. That's not an option. We have to come up with some numbers and some places where we want these things. The meeting that we're going to have is between the 6 of us is to sort out and then make contact with everyone else in the village via mainly the small clubs within the village, like U3A, Scouts, football, anything like that, and gather all the views in that we can get. Talk to business, like the old dairy, the business over there as well, where they've got stuff going on. I hate to think Arla, but I suppose they do come into it as well. And we'll just move forward from now and keep you informed every month as to what goes on. Apart from that, the normal stuff that's come through so far on the planning committee, we've had 2 or 3 small ones which I won't bother you with, which we've looked at. One of the ones, 603, which was 17 Icknield Way, which was extension to a house up there. We talked about that, we held fire because we weren't sure whether the neighbours had objected. But then I read the application and the lady had spoken to the neighbours as well. So they're always supportive. So we actually supported that one rather than just raise no objection. That's the new house on Upper Icknield Way. Well, new, I say new, built about what, 7 or 8 years ago, I guess. And they're extending that. The next one, small one, was 00800, which was an extension, 26 New Road. No objection to that. That just looks out over this field that they're going to build, so that wasn't a problem. The objection, which I'm sure most of you are concerned with, would be 00718, which is Old Rectory Farm.
Yes.
Which is on the west side of Stablebridge Road, right in the top corner, bottom, whichever way you look at it, up near the entrance to Green Park. It's a tiny little triangle that's been... the guy applying for it is Catamol, wasn't it, Tony, we said?
Yeah. 222 London Road.
Yeah.
We don't think he owns it.
We're not sure. And there's no way you can ever know, because you can apply for planning on pieces of land you do not own.
We've found that.
I feel very strongly about that because that's opening up to...
Yeah, well, the inspector who did the report for the 48 that got approval at Stablebridge, he mentioned this, that it was sort of contained and there shouldn't be any further extension to the west of Stablebridge. So that's been objected to.
And I've written actually.
You've written as well, a few people I'm sure have written, and I've put the... and the parish council put a consultee objection into that as well. Basically on the inspector's grounds, if you didn't want it, it's in a very inconvenient position as well. It's, you know, thin end of the wedge to get one there, we go all down the street, the usual sort of thing. So it's on the website for you to look at. And there's another one that's just come up that's not, haven't replied to it yet, but you may like to look at it, which is 00964, which is Arla. As you go down the bypass and you turn left to enter Arla or the recycle plant, there's a bit of ground immediately on your right hand side which sits in front of Arla if you like, and they are applying for retrospective change of approval, because before they develop that little corner they're meant to put a bund in and plant on top of it, and they're saying, oh, we don't want to do that, it's too expensive and it's going to make the sheds too expensive and we can't rent them out because they're too expensive.
Is that our application?
It's under Blackmore or something like that. But
Have to declare an interest.
Okay, all right, thank you. We haven't written anything about it yet because the application is it's about a month before the closing date for that, but I suggest you all have a look at it. Quite significant, I think. I don't think they should be allowed to do it because it's commercial in the sense of they're trying to do something to make it cheaper for them to build a house. And it's all very well saying they're going to put big trees in which will shield you, which it does, but what it doesn't do is stop noise, and a bund stops noise. So we'll look at that and have a look at it.
Could you repeat that number again?
It's 00 or 11/00964. And that is quite an important one, I feel, again. That's about it from me, unless anyone's got any questions they would like to ask about that. Good.
Well done.
Any questions on planning now? Facilities report and recommendation of the Facilities Committee. You could do that one, Jean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Update on the grounds maintenance. We put out to tender for a company to cut the grass in the park and also the churchyard. And we had 5 people apply. It was very competitive. We went in for one company that was significantly better value for money and is locally based and already cuts about 2 or 3 other parish councils. So they were well acquainted with what was required. We awarded the contract to Buckland Landscape at an annual cost of £6,912, which came in something like about £5,000 or £6,000 less than we were paying last year. So we were very, very pleased with them. They started last Friday. They cut the whole of the grounds in the park in under 2 hours and did a wonderful job. So we will be obviously keeping a close eye on how they perform, but on the basis of it, it's looking very satisfactory. So that's the update on them. We have £4,000 set aside from the budget to reinstate some of the footpaths. We've so far found 5 that we've prioritised. We're going to start to look at those and put that out to Buckland Landscapes so that we sort of do a programme throughout the months and work on the worst sort of case of the footpaths. And then after that £4,000 has been spent, then we will start a rolling programme of keeping the footpaths up to scratch. But we're very, very pleased with Buckland Landscapes.
Can I just add that we've also asked him for the muddy bits around the bridges to come up with some idea.
Yes, you met him, didn't you?
Yeah, as to what he thinks would be a good idea to solve that in the future.
We've got several occasions that are particularly troublesome where they get heavy footfall by the bridges, which have been completely churned up. So we've asked them to give us a quote for this sort of plastic sort of...
whatever he feels best for that.
And see what he comes up with. Because the quote is coming so low, we do have money to sort of look at these other areas and upgrade them.
Can I just ask, are you picking up the grass in the churchyard because that's of concern?
No, that's not part of the... That was in the tender that they would not be picking up.
Because it's very difficult when you have funerals and the grass is all wet and it goes all over the gravestones and that. It's not...
That was not part of it.
Historically, the grass was collected by the previous contractor.
Yes.
In the tender document I circulated to everybody, we put that it would be picked up and nobody made any comments, so...
We'll monitor that and see how it goes.
Yeah, because if you've got for the director having to walk across with people going to the gravesite and you've got all this grass when it's wet, it is horrible.
And increase your cost in cleaning the church as well.
Well, exactly,
we will be monitoring. I mean, this is a new contract, and we will be seeing. I mean, it can be adjusted. They're fully aware of that.
Okay.
Are you got something in mind for the fountain?
Not yet. That's our next meeting. As again, that wasn't mentioned. So, but as I say, we do have a facility for doing one-offs, or when we do the footpaths, we can maybe add that on there. We're discussing that at the next
County
meeting.
Council have helped us already with the footpaths, haven't they?
A little way, yeah.
Sorry?
A little way, yeah.
Well, I mean, the worst part along the Twitchell Lane, they've cut it right back.
Yes, I know, and they have cut a couple of trees down, but...
They've cut trees down, yes. Considerable number along the Overstrand up to the footpath that runs up to the post office.
It's good, it's to our benefit.
In fact, it's their responsibility. The footpaths are their responsibility.
It's 6,900 and something metres of it. Just need to identify them.
Yes, they have responded in the past when I've pointed out that a tree has come down across those footpaths. Any questions for Jean? Turn the page and we've got the next under facilities, which is the agreement, or proposed agreement to site further dog waste bins in suitable locations around the village.
We've had a lot of problems with dog waste in the village, and in fact it was very sad. I was down here on the Friday when the Bucklands Landscape with Colin to oversee them for the first cut, and So there were four or five names, and the comment I had to make was the amount of dog waste that was on our land, cutting the grass, which was extremely sad to hear. And I said to them, we are well aware that there is a problem here. And that extends to the whole of the village, really. I've been walking around all the footpaths, and it's really not good. So I think we've come to that decision where we need to think about putting some more dog waste bins in the village.
Signs, so I feel.
Well, the signage is up.
Yeah,
I mean, Leslie has done
yeah.
a wonderful job. I think there are always going to be people who don't pick up their dog waste. I've been reading the minutes from 20 years ago, and there's still, that still seems to be a problem. But at least we can provide some more facilities. The cost of a new bin is £308, and the cost of emptying is £57.92 a week, or if you do it twice weekly, it's £108. We've had to replace a bin in the park already, which cost about £150 for just the bin. I don't think we put in a post up.
No.
I think Colin has volunteered to put up a new one to save us £60. But notwithstanding that, if we go for 3, it's going to cost us about £1,000. And we have to decide then whether we want to have them just emptied weekly. We have realised that there is a problem for some places in the park where people are coming bringing supposedly carry bags from home and emptying in our dog bins.
Really?
Does anybody see anything to do with this?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Well, we don't have a problem with people putting their cat litter and everything. That's in one bin.
It's unbelievable.
That's £1,000 if we have all 3, and we've yet to decide where, if we agree that where they should be located.
Yes, I gather there was a problem last year when the dog bin was put in Longplough.
Yes.
Changed.
It was.
So I'm thinking that we've missed this opportunity. You can only apply for them. It's every quarter, I believe. We just missed this application. So we've got basically 2 to 3 months to decide where we want them, which actually might be fortuitous.
Yes, it is, because we had objections to where one of the bins was sited, and we had it recited. So
yeah, well, we don't want that.
No, that costs us a fortune.
So I think what might be prudent is if we decide whether or not we can afford 3 more dog waste bins at suitable locations in the village tonight, and then maybe we do something, decide some locations, and then put it out maybe on the website and see if there's any violent objections, because we don't want to be
well, I think
reciting.
we need to contact the people in the neighbourhood where we're going to site them, because we had quite a lot of objections to one particular bin that's opposite someone's house. The other thing in the park, you were going to cite another one. We've got views of citing another one in the park.
No, we had no plans for another in the park. We were going to replace the one by the astroturf, which the bottom's rusting out.
Yeah, the
Well,
one
we do have a lot of bins in the park.
we do, but the one down by, or the lack of one by the beach area, you'd probably, if you've been emptying bins, know where they put it.
But they'd only have to walk very far, just to the bridge, to put it in the bin there. They don't. I know. My gut feeling is we could have bins every 50 metres and people would still.
Yes, I think the people that are going to put it in the bin will walk. The people that won't put it in the bin won't put it in the bin. You put it next door.
I mean, we've
to them.
only got 2 in the village.
So it's
3 in the village.
And Buckland haven't got any that I know of
Yeah,
in the village, because when people go up the Buckland Road from the estate, the last one on the council estate, there's one there, and then if you go up all the way up the Buckland Road and back down, there isn't anything.
No.
And I mean, it's such a good walk for dogs. I mean, they hang them in there, they get thrown in the
They
hedge.
hang them on the
Walking my dog around the village, my gut feeling would be sort of somewhere down the end of New Road, but on the Aston Clinton side,
Yeah.
something down the far end of the village, and maybe something down the other end of the village, near where that footpath is, sort of in the estate end.
Yeah.
And that covers sort of across the village, but, you know, that's just walking around with my dog.
That's
so-
right.
Can you think this?
Well, Martin, before.
Yeah, sorry, Chairman, quickly. The proposal, the suggestion about putting the dog bin on the beach or near to the beach on the other side of the stream, that has been mooted before. We applied to have one, or the council in the past has applied to have a dog bin placed over there. The AVDC contractor refused to cross the bridge So that's why it now appears for the park side of the footbridge. That bid was originally destined for the beach, but the ABDC contractor said they refused to empty it on the other side of the stream.
What grounds?
Oh, I can't recall, I'm sure it's something to do with health and safety. The other thing, Chair, I noticed that, I don't know if it's a facilities committee thing, but there are notices on the waste bins instructing, advising not to put dog waste in the waste bins. Are we not kind of adding cost by not allowing the use of those bins for
They
for
ignore
dog
them
waste?
anyway, so
Well,
that's
yeah,
been that hasn't worked.
Well, we did
That was in anticipation of the Scouts doing the emptying, and that was their conditions, but under for health and safety reasons. But of course, that situation has changed anyway.
So we have a proposal. Do we spend £1,000 on 3 more waste bins?
I think we need them. I mean, if you think about how many people are in this village and how many dogs there are.
It can take a while, can't it?
It is a problem in the village. I think it is not very pleasant.
I think they will take more.
The evidence suggests it makes no difference. Go out on the grass behind them.
I mean, Brook Street is disgusting. It's always been disgusting. And now there's a bin in the Long Plough area. I mean, it just doesn't get any better.
The other thing I would say is that if you do go around, the bins do become overflowing.
Yeah.
Not just here, not just in the park, but that one round by sort of Beaconsfield Road, that is overflowing when it needs emptying. So that they are, notwithstanding this stuff on the floor, they are being used.
That one was the cat litter one.
Yeah, that one, everything was
Somebody
being
used
put
to
in
go,
it.
this woman they used to put all the cat litter in there.
Anyhow, is there a proposal that we have 3 bins?
I think we need them in the village.
Well, I can't disagree with that.
Is there a seconder for that?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Have a show of hands for that then, please. 3, 4 against. 4 against and an abstention. 2 abstentions. To discuss and agreed arrangements for the Euro bins.
Well, on bins again, I'm afraid.
I don't know if you're thinking of the one in the church yard.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about the ones in the park.
That's been resolved.
No, we're doing that in the park.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, you've got 4 for and 4 against.
And 2
You didn't
abstentions.
vote, so you need to use your vote. Or you
Oh, I
need
didn't
to-
realise I got 4.
Yes.
Oh well, I'll vote against it then.
So I thought it was only 3 for, Mr. Graves.
Sorry?
We got 4 more, do we?
4 for.
Sorry,
Who voted for?
3, you said?
Yeah.
3.
33.
3, 4.
Okay.
4 against.
Okay.
Okay, on to Euro bins then.
Eurobins. Bins. We've got 3 Eurobins in the park here. These cost £19.60 per week to hire and have emptied. We've got 3, and that covers them being emptied twice a week. In addition, there's £11 a go to pick up any excess overflow, which we get a lot, which is £22 a week. That means we spend £80 a week, which comes to £4,200 and odd pound for the 3 bins there. Now, we can opt not to have the excess overflow collected and save £22 a week. Every time I pass those bins, I'm sure everybody else does, they put stuff in the bin because people just dump stuff on the floor. And Jill has put down here, she's done the investigation, she's not sure if it can be negotiated to say once a month. But she's asked us to consider, and I agree with her, whether we can do with a few bins. This is a very large amount here, £4,000 a year, to keep 3 bins going. Now, I've asked Eamon, who has agreed to do our litter picking, how many bins he thinks he's going to need to do all the rubbish. He thinks 1. I think that's probably a little bit ambitious. I think maybe 2. I didn't do the litter picking last summer, so I can't really comment, but I do feel that we have 3 bins there that are open to everybody, and I see people sticking their rubbish and God knows what in there. And I'm just wondering whether or not we can do with getting rid of 1. It would cut down our costs.
No, they're not. They're not locked.
I thought they were locked.
There is
They're
a
not locked.
There is a lock.
Can't we lock them?
There is a lock,
There is
they're
a
not
lock.
locked.
Well, it's a matter.
Can't we lock them?
Yes, it's a matter of turning the key on the top.
Yeah, but it's only a same key as you have on your gas box. So.
Well, it is, but not many people carry
That's
one
not going to
around.
reduce the cost, though, because they're still going to come and empty them.
Yes, Jean.
You mean stopping fly tipping, or whether you want to call it that, people going on and emptying their car boot into it.
Now we have to consider in this mix as well what happens once we have the pavilion up and running again, because obviously that will generate rubbish.
And surely whoever's got the pavilion should pay for getting rid of their own rubbish. It's not down to us to pay for their rubbish.
Exactly.
Yes, I think locking them would help, isn't it? I mean, at one time we had 6 until I had them reduced to 3, and I found the contents of a builder's van in one of them.
So I feel it would be prudent to cut them down to 2 and see how we go.
Can we
I
not
mean,
put
Martin,
additional?
you've been collecting litter. Do you think 2 is enough? Or do you think 1 is enough?
You, by your own admission, you said there are 3, and there is overspill from 3.
Well, I've been monitoring, obviously it's winter time now, and I've been looking at them. They are being emptied twice a week, and they are probably about a half full when they're emptied. I'm thinking in summertime.
In summertime, it's only a phone call to increase the number.
All 3 the other day when they came were
Yeah.
half full, weren't they?
Half full.
3 of them.
We've been looking at it just to sort of have some sort of informed opinion. I mean, obviously, summertime with extra people in the park with more litter, but I still think we should try to go down to 2 and lock them and see.
No, it's not cast in stone, is it?
No.
After 3, we can just
You can change it.
Oh, yes, yes.
But I'm just thinking, you know,
It is a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, £80 a week.
Yeah, it was only a phone call to have 3 removed. If we reduced it to 2 and then decide as the summer comes to increase it to 3, the phone call will increase it.
I think that would be prudent, but I think 1 is probably a little bit ambitious.
Yeah, for 2.
Bless you.
Can I have a proposal then for 2?
I propose to go down to 2.
Seconder, please. Joe, sorry, Jeff. Can I have a show of hands in favour? Right, we're down to 2. And while we're on that, I mean, there has been mention with regards to the bin at the churchyard that we were paying for, which we've been an email to the effect that the church is in fact a charity and that they will have their bin for nothing from now on. And we won't get the bill.
Have we been paying that for a long time now?
Not that I know of. I believe when this came about was when the parochial church council decided that a waste tip in the corner of the churchyard was something they could do without, and they needed a large bin for flowers and stuff from the graves to be put in. And that doesn't seem to be that long ago. But I don't know when we started getting the bill, but of course we're responsible for the maintenance of the churchyard. And if anyone wants to know why, that is because it's a closed churchyard for which the parish council is responsible for its maintenance.
Do we have a representative on the PCC, or do we know who's on the PCC? Who are they now? I mean, it used to be Penny.
We don't have a council representative. No.
We don't.
I'm on the PCC.
Sorry?
You're on the PCC.
Oh, Marion is, yeah. But we don't officially have a representative, no. And the reason because the parish council has to look after it is because it's a cemetery for the village.
And you do get the money from them.
Oh yes, I mean I looked at one year, we actually what we were spending, we were almost getting that amount in the burial fees.
Well, you're going a very exciting course, aren't you?
Well, that's bury people.
Yes, cemetery maintenance.
Cemetery maintenance
Oh,
course.
good. You've no idea how
But you
many
never knew
phone
it
calls I
existed,
get
did you?
about that, and emails.
Yes.
So,
Is that all on Euro bins or bins of a sort? Sports and recreation.
Sports and recreation, this covers all the users of the park. The allotments, I'd just like to say many thanks to Chris Ronson and to Leslie, but mainly Chris, doing a sterling job with bringing quite a few of the disused allotments back into a decent state. And with the spring coming, I think there have been a few more takers, so hopefully people will be very happy with what he's done. There is going to be a meeting tomorrow evening of the subcommittee for sport and recreation with the two football clubs, Colts, well, football club and the Colts, to discuss various aspects, one of which is security. We seem to have had a lot of problems with youths moving the dugouts, moving benches from the cricket pitch, setting fire to them. We've put the dugouts in the compound. They've been dragged over the back of the compound and put into the spinney. So we're going to have a good talk tomorrow. Colin and the rest of us are going to have a sit down and have a look at all sorts of aspects, have a look at commercial arrangements, look at their contracts, and just sort of update everything really, and also discuss about the meadow pitch. See how you go after tonight's meeting, see if you can manage it. So that will be minuted and put out for everybody to read as well.
We usually arrange for the pitches to be fertilised at this time of the year, so maybe you want to. The football clubs will bring it up.
Yes, I understand that in the agreement, the last agreement, which was September 2012, the football club are going to fertilise their pitches.
Oh, that'd be good.
But that's in that was in the last agreement that we've got, so I will be discussing that with them.
It's not actually done for nothing.
We paid for it last year.
Sorry?
We paid for it last year.
Yes, it's about under £300, isn't it, for the whole?
Yeah. We paid £312 for fertiliser for the park.
Fertilise for park or pitches?
The park in general, yeah.
Perhaps that, because the groundsman wasn't able to do it, perhaps they actually physically done the job.
Yeah, the guy I spoke to, he says, okay, because I mentioned it to him about feed, and he said, yeah, okay on the football pitches, but he wouldn't recommend doing it elsewhere. He said it's a waste of money. And he said, as long as we keep mowing it around, we're getting all the broadleaf stuff anyway, so he said not to do that. And I think he was sort of mainly looking in terms of an autumn feed for the football pitch rather than the summer. But that's just,
Okay.
Lovely.
Is that all on sport and recreation? Update on the pavilion then, please, although you've given us a brief.
Yes, it's been a long 2 months. As I said, we have finally got to the stage now where the pavilion is empty. At the moment, we managed to keep a sink in the kitchen through a bit of negotiation, but that's all that's in the kitchen now is a sink. And the extractor unit, because they really didn't want to take that down. Everything else in the kitchen has gone back, all the cooker and everything.
the reason being, of course, that was all leased by the thing and not owned by him, and so
really everything was leased. We managed to hang on to the patio. I'm not joking. The bailiffs we had were worth their weight in gold.
Great.
Otherwise, we would not have had a patio today. So yes, so it's been a very difficult. And I won't go into details because it's just been very hard work. And I do wish to thank two co-opted members, Leslie and Alan, who have been worked tirelessly.
Yeah.
We've been involved nearly every day for the last 10 days with the pavilion. But I for one, I was very glad to see that car go out the drive this morning. So it's the end of a very difficult chapter, I think, for the village, and I think it's time for us to put that behind us now and move on and think about the future. So what are we going to do with the pavilion? The pavilion is, if you look in all the corners and look behind the signs, it is in a very, very poor state of repair. None of the windowsills are actually attached to anything. There are leaks everywhere, and it's a 1971 building which really is very tired at the least. We had a facilities meeting to look at how we should proceed in the future, and there has been a clear resolution from them that we undertake a feasibility study to look at a new community centre. I think this is the right time to take advantage of the fact that there is money around to help us as a parish. We've had to suffer building, and I think we will be suffering more building. As a result of that, though, we get what's called Section 106 money, and we also have the availability of new homes bonus money. I only really thought, I'll be honest, I don't know much about any of this, and the only reason I started looking was because Green Park came looking for money, and I asked the question of AVDC that if we agreed and they took Section 106 money, does that mean we have any money? And the answer was no. Once the money's gone, it's gone. And I thought, well, hang on a minute, this is our village. Why don't we have something, use this money for all of us to use? And to me, the answer is crying out for a brand new community centre that we can all use. We can help all the clubs in the village that don't have a home, like the British Legion, like the Scouts, like a new youth club, some sports facilities, meeting rooms for the U3A. I think we need to think big, and I think we need to be creative, and I think we could achieve it. I've done some very preliminary talks with the person that holds the Section 106 money, and because of the size of the village that we are now, which is 4,000, we are allowed to apply for Section 106 for what's called CC3A or 3B, and the fact that we are growing. That means that we can apply for a building which can hold an 18 by 10 badminton court, which can hold arts and other sports. So you could have short mat tennis, you can have staging, you can have all sorts of things within this building. Have changing rooms, decent changing rooms, have a lovely coffee bar, even a sport bar. So I think there's a lot of things that we can think about, to be thought about over the next few months. The reason why I've brought it up tonight and now is because there is a finite time that we can apply for this money. According to the man in AVDC, we need to set down a marker that we would like this money by the end of April. And the New Homes Bonus Scheme finishes in September. Obviously, come the new election, let's hope it's still there. Either way, if we have facilities for sports, we can apply to the Sports Council, Sport for England, and obtain funding. There's lots of other channels in the village through various charities that we can apply, and I think it would be a good thing for the village. I think we need it. I think we need to think about the next 40 to 50 years, and I think it would be a great thing for the village to do, notwithstanding everything that's happened in the last couple of years.
We really then need to get the feasibility study done sooner rather than later, because you probably realise with 106 money, that is an agreement with the developer.
Yes.
And yes, I mean, so often we've had the decisions made at AVDC and not what we wanted.
That's right.
So
I've spoken preliminary to Jan Roth and to Joe Houston, beg your pardon, I've emailed them, and this is the kind of thing they want to put money into. It's very prestigious and it's very needed, and we are a growing village, and I think they would look very favourably on what we're looking for. We need to do a feasibility study, and the New Homes Bonus, I've got an email from Jan Roth, she says that the Parish Council is expected to put some money towards this initially, which would be in the form of a feasibility study, and that would be for plans, thoughts, obviously drawings, that kind of basic thing. I mean, I don't know whether we would use the whole of that money. I don't know. Westbury, I've been in contact with Westbury Parish Council, and they have been very successful. They've been awarded £750,000, so they will start their new community centre later on this year. But I think village.
It's a really good idea.
Yes, well, as I say, we really need to get the study done to get them, so that any other development is proposed, that it's written into.
We need to put our name. We need to put our name on that money. I mean, you know, Stedbridge Road is going to bring in £164,000 Section 106 money. That's been, I've got that in writing. So, I mean, although we don't want more housing, some things are going to be inevitable, and you know, what I think we should utilise that and use it for our community benefit.
Presumably Chapel Drive will be a similar amount, I guess, 47 houses, 48.
We haven't got the details of that.
No.
Not yet, no, it hasn't come through yet. I've been talking to Bellway. So reserve matters, that was one of the things, reserve matters are around for that as well.
Okay, and members' views on?
Well, the committee supported it.
Yeah.
Yes, the facilities do.
Yes,
I wanted
well,
to hear what the rest of the.
Well, that's what I mean. Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm very supportive of that idea. Go for it.
Well, let's have a proposer then. Jeff and Jean, and in favour?
Thank you very much.
Unanimous.
Thank you. I think it'll be a very exciting time for us.
And in the meantime,
Thank you very much.
and in the meantime.
In the meantime.
Oh, yes.
So what do we do with it while we're waiting for all that? Because that's going to take about 2 to 3 years. We've put out expressions of interest. We've had about 15 people came forward to Jill with saying what they wanted to do. We have put out a document. We wanted to be very open with possible people taking it over. It was going to be for a finite period of time, but also that we were looking for something for a community-facing project. When we did the village survey, over 90% of people wanted a coffee bar, some kind of food. So we've asked for people to really think about that with what they put forward. We've put out a suggestion, those of you who've seen the tender, that we could have 1, 2, 3 or 4 people in there. It doesn't really matter as long as they work together and they offer something for the community. It's quite basic in there. We are going to be giving it a really good clean, and I'm starting to show people around next week. Two people have made appointments to see the layout and everything, and we're going to offer that to people so they can decide. As a committee, the facilities committee, we don't really want to be spending loads of money. It's enough money wasted on it in the last few months. So it will be a minimum spend on it. So really we will see who comes forward and what they require, and then judge it as to what they require, what we can afford, and then that will dictate how much we charge, those kinds of things. That's still not set in stone. So it's very much come forward, tell us what you'd like to do with it, and then we'll talk about it.
And it's a 6-month proposal, isn't it, with
It'll be a
rolling...
6-month rolling rental. So it's not to say that somebody can only rent it for 6 months, but we will review it after 6 months. And the reason why we've done that is it's not so important this end of the scale, but down the other end of the scale, when we come hopefully nearer to opening up a new community centre, that we then don't find ourselves stuck, but in a situation where we wouldn't give people enough notice. So that's why we've done it that way.
Okay, thank you. There's not really anything for us to decide now on that, because...
No. The closing date is 17th. It may well be that those decisions aren't made until the new council, which might be the wisest thing to do. I mean, initially I thought this could be hung on to, because obviously this is a big move for a new council to take on. But it's very much putting a marker on that money to say that we would like to use it. It doesn't commit us forever and ever, but it means that they want to know that this council would like it. Because if we don't, there have the people been knocking from a Hillsbury.
Exactly. We've never had 106 money of that size.
No, and we need to bag it.
It's only a quarter, better quarter. Well, thank you, Jean.
So my motion is oh, we've done that. Just want to
You've
make
got
sure you're all
unanimous
agreed.
We'll keep agreeing if you like.
Yes, please tell me, I'm really excited about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Business for the next meeting, both from the councillors or from member of the public, just
If,
well,
the next
Setting
meeting,
aside
I
standing
think,
orders and opening up to public participation.
well,
Mr.
I thought that when it comes to business for the next meeting, that was it was to the public as well. If members agree, of course. No. No, all right. Okay, so it's from councillors only.
Can I ask a technicality, Mr. Chairman? It is conceivably possible that the new parish council will have no members from this parish council. How then are the minutes of this meeting approved?
The new council doesn't have to be at that previous meeting. The law says that the minutes are deemed to be correct because of the last council meeting, so that isn't a problem.
So Jill could write what she likes. And
I possibly will.
I'm pretty sure it will come out in the public if she wrote something that you didn't agree. So.
It's all on YouTube, isn't it?
Probably the spine of agreement might go up. Well, let's have it. So members have nothing then for the next meeting. May not be here. Okay, the date of the next meeting needs to be noted because it will have to be put back to after the election, and so it's the 13th of May. Bill wants to speak, but
Chairman, it's not a raise an item of business, but as your local councillor, I would like to personally thank all of the parish councillors for their hard work over the years. I hope some might come back. I know some are leaving. I don't know which who is who and what's what. But all of you have put a lot of time into the parish council, some for many, many years, and I would just like to say thank you from me personally. Other people agree, that's fine, but that's from me.
thank you.
and I would like to endorse that. I think particularly those who do retire and not come back, to thank them for that. I was going to say perhaps it should be brought up at the next meeting, so it's recorded. But,
All right, thank you, Ralph. I'll close the meeting then at 8:52.